Desperados 3 is a real-time tactical stealth game. In this prequel to the beloved Desperados franchise, you will lead your gang on a glorious Wild West adventure and visit many iconic places like the forbidding mountains of Colorado, the bug-infested swamps of Louisiana, and the windswept deserts of Mexico. You will also get to experience the origin story of John Cooper and the rest of his gang. Now, let me make the introductions. The leader of the group is Cooper, a drifter and gunslinger who can kill quietly with a knife or take out multiple foes with his 2 revolvers. Strongman Hector carries a giant bear trap and can slay the toughest opponents with his trusty axe. Doc McCoy, cold-blooded bounty hunter, likes to be methodical, using lures, knockout gas, and his buntline special to take out his enemies from a distance without making much noise. Kate can fool the enemy with the right outfit and kill discreetly with her hidden gun. Isabel uses jinxes and poison darts to manipulate and control the enemy's minds. And there are a lot of enemies. In Desperados 3, you are always outnumbered, but you will quickly learn to read situations. In Desperados 3, you have to think before you act. Simply running blindly into situations won't get you far. Most of your enemies are not stupid, though. Patrols will start looking for missing friends.
Are you hiding from me?
Another great way to take out your enemies without raising the alarm is to utilize environmental hazards. Smash your enemies with a loaded crane. Make them jump on the love train. Or give them a free ride in a minecart. If an enemy gets killed by accident while his friends are watching, they won't raise the alarm, since they don't suspect that you caused it. You can also choose to go full stealth and succeed without killing anyone at all. By using your knockout and tie-up skills, you can complete most missions without a single murder.
For what's left of humanity.
Got it.
You and your team will face off against 5 other crews to dominate the battlefield. There are 3 modes to master. First up, zone control. In zone control, crews compete to control the map by capturing and holding specific areas. A zone is captured when a unit is able to occupy the area without enemy interference. Keep in mind, pilots, that grav cycles cannot capture zones. Zones can only be captured and contested by ground units, so try focusing your attacks on them first and foremost. Though grav cycle takedowns are still worth big points. Next up, Collector. 2 teams, 1 objective. Collect as many brain cans as possible before the timer is up or the score limit is reached. Brain cans can come from 3 sources. Enemy grav cycles, good for 3 points each. Enemy units, good for 1 point each. And finally, brain cans can be obtained from spawn points around the map. When a can is in play, both teams may attempt to pick it up. Friendly brain cans won't net you points, but obtaining them will prevent your enemies from picking them up for a score. In retrieval, players are split up into attacking and defending teams. The goal of the attackers is to retrieve cores from core spawn points and deliver them to a designated drop point near the defender's spawn.
Enemy score.
The goal of the defenders? Stop the attackers at all costs. Cores can only be retrieved and carried by ground units. If a ground unit is destroyed while carrying a core, the core will be dropped.
Core B dropped.
Pick the core up to extend your delivery timer. Failure to retrieve a dropped core in the allotted time will have explosive consequences.
Core detonated.
After the round, teams will swap roles. At the end of the match, the team with the most completed deliveries wins.
Victory!
Are you ready to take the pilot's seat? Your success will be determined by mastery over your grav cycle, in tandem with effectively utilizing your ground units and their abilities. Choose your crew carefully. Synergize with your team, making sure you're using weapons and abilities that complement each other as you fight for supremacy.
The Last of Us Part 2 picks up Ellie and Joel's story several years after the events of the first game. Ellie and Joel have settled in Jackson, Wyoming, amongst a thriving community of survivors. With the threats of the world kept outside the town's walls, Jackson has been able to find relative peace and even stability. Ellie is now 19, lives on her own, and has been able to forge lasting relationships within the community. Much of the story unfolds in what remains of Seattle, a massive former quarantine zone. Its locales are incredibly diverse, spanning a dense city center with a skyline of towering high-rises to the beautiful suburbs and stormy waterfronts that surround it. The Last of Us Part 2 features some of the largest environments we've ever created. Horseback riding will allow Ellie to quickly cover some of these expansive terrains. Some streets are so flooded that a boat is required to navigate them. However, the world of The Last of Us is as lush and inviting as it is deadly. As Ellie uncovers the path to finding those who have wronged her, she must face the many threats of this unknown city. In the wake of the pandemic and the fall of the quarantine zone, Seattle has become a war zone, where 2 warring factions find themselves in an ongoing conflict for territory and resources. Beyond this conflict among survivors, the threat that originally brought the world to its knees is very much present. Every human is in danger of falling victim to the infected. There are the recently infected runners, who are more numerous and aggressive in this game. The blind but extremely deadly clickers, and the stalkers, who sneak and hide until they're ready to attack, surprising their victims with extreme agility and brutal violence. The Last of Us Part 2 introduces new stages of infected, such as the Shamblers. Large, heavily armored enemies that are covered in pustule. Upon getting close to you, they expel a corrosive spore cloud that burns its victims. 25 years after the pandemic began, the world is completely overgrown. Use tall grass to hide from enemies and go prone to stay out of sight. However, this form of analog stealth means you're never fully hidden. If enemies get close enough, they can discover you, even in grass. When Ellie is overwhelmed, running away is a viable option. You can also break glass or crawl through tight spaces to find new paths or areas to evade or take on your enemies. In any given combat situation, you can flee an encounter and re-establish stealth to regain the advantage. If you absolutely have to fight your way out, there are a variety of tools at your disposal. Ellie's more agile than most of her enemies. She can sprint and quickly dodge incoming attacks. Learning how opponents attack with different weapons and mastering the timing of your dodges will prevent you from taking damage and create opportunities to counterattack. You can use throwable items or well-placed shots to stun enemies before dealing a killing blow. Or using them as a shield to protect yourself or buy some time to figure out your next move. Ellie isn't always alone on her journey. Allies will take part in helping you navigate the environments, spot enemies, and meaningfully help you in combat encounters.
Back off! Got you now!
As we've said before, this is Naughty Dog's largest, most ambitious game. It may seem like we covered a lot, but we've only scratched the surface of what it's like to play The Last of Us Part 2.